In studying the French Indian War, 1754 to 1763, I want to demonstrate to students how complicated the relationships between the English colonists and Native Americans were, and between and within the various tribes. The first primary source I chose from America's Historical Imprints collection was the treaty held with the Catawba and Cherokee. The colonists' different strategies and negotiations not only demonstrated the complexity of the relationships, but can also show students the history that each native group had with the colonists. For example, the colonists gave the Catawba guns and ammunition at the meeting without any hesitancy. However, the Cherokee were only given the promise of guns. By simply asking why, students can conduct research and compare and contrast the issue during class or online. One difference is that the Catawba's friendship with the colonists had never wavered until the American Revolution, but the Cherokee was not consistent. They fought with the English in the Tuscarora War in 1711, but a few years later, they fought against the South Carolina colony in the Yamasee War, 1715 to 1717. The Cherokee broke their recently renewed English alliance during the King George's War, almost a decade before the French Indian War. With students beginning to think more in depth about the French Indian War, I would introduce my secondary primary source, Jonathan Belcher's A Proclamation, declaring the Shawnee and Delaware Indians enemies of the Pennsylvania colony. This document exhibits the intricacy within each native nation. For example, while the Chancellor of New Jersey, among other titles, stated who the enemy was, he also noted exceptions. The tribes living around the Susquehanna River made a peace treaty and agreed to take up the hatchet against the French. The sovereignty of each village was not forsaken for the larger Native American nation. Additionally, the document can be connected to one of the main reasons why Shawnee declared war on South Carolina. The proclamation reports that negotiations and attempts to befriend the Shawnee and Delaware failed. This provides an opportunity for students to research the negotiations and their origins, maybe in a short paper. Intercolonial relationships are at work here, as Ian Steele's Shawnee Origins of the 7 Years' War reveals. The capture of 6 Ohio Shawnee warriors by South Carolina's militia was a grievance of honor that needed to be corrected. The colony's governor sent 2 of the prisoners to Pennsylvania in hopes that Shawnee leaders would negotiate the release of the other 4, of which 3 escaped, one being the warriors' leader who died in the attempt. It was through these negotiations that hostilities increased between the Ohio Shawnee and the Pennsylvania colony. Relationships are complex for all the people involved, as is an essential lesson for any event or era. The colonial period has many facets that students should understand instead of one simplistic narrative that does not reflect the reality of the period. Students need to recognize, analyze, and evaluate the past to understand it better.